Okay, so Libby, can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, good. I've learned to ask that question every time I start another module because I don't want to be thinking I'm recording myself and I'm not. So here's the reverse engineering for a dating app. Not going to read this every single word, but I'm going to cover the high points for you all, then take on some of your questions, and then if there's time, I'll also move on at an informal level and talk about the take-home final, but I do want to have a separate lecture on that in a couple of weeks. But before we do that, let's take a look at the reverse engineering assignment. So as it says here, all great marketing advertising campaigns are based on a creative strategy, right? And that's generally understood. The message is key to the strategy. You need to know what is the message you're putting in people's heads. What are you trying to make sure people take away when they're exposed, not just to your advertising, but when they're exposed to an event, when they're exposed to a promotion, when they are seeing people consume your product. That's what you want. We talked a lot about creative strategy briefs earlier in the semester, and we're no longer in the early part of the semester. We're now in the almost, believe it or not, getting to the point where we're getting closer and closer to being 1/3 of the way through, starting the middle third. But let's talk about this, the creative strategy brief, a little bit more. So in the creative strategy brief template, there's about 14 or 15 different elements that are in that template, and I think we have at the end of this document, you'll see all of them, right? And you'll see the form you can also use. Sometimes we actually literally have people, in the professional world, people literally sign off. The client signs off on it. Everyone signs off on it so that nobody later on can say they didn't agree to what was coming. Because that's the last thing you want to have happen. You don't want a client or a boss to say to you, I don't know, why did you do that? I didn't agree to that. You never want that to happen. Most professional organizations have some variation of this creative strategy brief. It'll be different for every different company, every different organization, but they'll have something just to make sure that everybody stays on the same page, which is not always easy. Does it mean you can't have a new idea after you've all agreed to have a creative strategy brief? No, new ideas come along all the time. But at some point in time, you got to stay focused. You got to decide, what are we going to do? We only have so much calendar time to get the campaign done. You've got, the ship has to sail. You've got to start moving forward toward your final campaign ideas. So not every, as it says here, not all the elements of the creative strategy brief are found in every copy strategy brief, but at least 6 or 7 of them are, particularly the target audience description, the insight, the message, reasons to believe it. These are very, very important. We talk about Exhibit A, and if you want, there's a link in the form, and this is on Blackboard. There's a folder on Blackboard in a document section that says reverse engineering assignment, and you'll see this material that I'm covering with you now. And you'll see an example that was done by a student 5 or 7 years ago. She did it in the form of a Word document. You'll be doing it in the form of a presentation. Let me move on through all this. This describes the Geico campaign, the test man campaign, and so on and so forth. Your assignment. I'm going to assign you 2 campaigns. And your job is to find I'm going to assign you a couple of brands, and your job is to find a campaign or 2. You can find more than one campaign for a brand, and that's fine. But I want you to ultimately present 2 campaigns, and I want you to describe what you think the strategy is. You're to, as it says here, reverse engineer the campaigns. The idea of reverse engineering a campaign is important. It happens all the time. Your boss will come into your office, or you'll be asked to meet with your boss, and he or she will say, our competitor just launched this campaign. What do you think they're up to? What do you think they're trying to get done? What is it all about? Is it any good? Should we be worried? Should we be concerned? Let's reverse engineer it. Let's figure out this. Now, let's try to figure out what their creative strategy is. With the understanding that you weren't in the room unless you're a spy and you had listening devices in the competitors' offices, which is illegal. But unless you're a spy, you don't know what their strategy is. But you got to try to figure it out because it may impact your success. It's not unusual to have a lot of brainstorming sessions on it, to try to check with people who have once worked for that company or maybe still do, to find out what are they all about. Your assignment. I'm going to skip down to the assignment. You're going to present some screenshot. It's going to be a PowerPoint presentation, not a Word document. So the example in Blackboard is a Word document of another student that did this a few years ago. You're just going to do a presentation. For each of the two campaigns, each presentation will be about 3 minutes in length. That's it. Nothing more than that. If you were my online course where people don't meet regularly, I would ask you to record your presentation, and send me the recording. But you all meet with me on a regular basis, so you don't have to record it. You can simply present it. I'll arrange for multiple screen sharing so your team can share its screen with the entire class. I want the entire class to see what each team's work looks like. And there's two goals in mind for this assignment, ultimately, to get you to better understand what a creative strategy brief is by having you reverse engineer somebody else's. And the other is, I want to make sure that all the team members are at least trying to help each other. And this is a good way to see if all the team members are on the same page with each other, or if someone seems not to be as engaged as they need to be. So those are the two goals of this assignment. This will affect your class participation grade. It will not affect, you're not going to get a formal grade for this assignment. You'll show for each of the campaigns some screenshots and descriptions of what the campaign's all about, because remember, I will not have seen probably any of these campaigns. I'm probably not the target audience for this product category necessarily. So I may not have been exposed to these campaigns. I may have seen a few of them, but I may not have been exposed to them. So you have to describe and show what the campaign looked like. Then you need to say, here's what we think the creative strategy is. And here's why we think this creative strategy is the creative strategy. Feel free, if you can find any commentary in Ad Age or Ad Week or any of the other marketing or advertising trade publications, feel free to quote some other expert that said what they think is going on. That's fair game. That's fine. And you'll present it in class as a recording. You don't actually need to send me anything the night before. Usually when a team presents, I ask them to send me the in the room version of the presentation the night before. You don't have to do that. Just on the day of the presentation, do send me your PowerPoint slides. So I have your PowerPoint slides open on another computer, but I'm going to watch your presentation like everybody else. So that's pretty much the nature of the assignment. What I'm going to do is take some of your questions now, and after taking your questions, bear with me a second. After taking some of your questions, I'm going to end class for today, but I'm going to expect that all the teams will start to get better acquainted with each other, just because I think it's important that you do. So you'll use the time that's left to reacquaint or get better acquainted with each other, and in the process, you'll hopefully have a better team effort.